Now, the leaders of India, United States, Australia and Japan are all set to meet for the second in-person Quad Leaders Summit in Tokyo, in one of the region's most important foreign policy summits of the year. The talks will aim to maintain a free and open Indo-Pacific, and discussions will center around the economic and security interests of the Pacific and Indian Oceans. To this end, the Quad countries are expected to launch a satellite-based maritime initiative aimed at curbing illegal fishing in the Indo-Pacific region. Reports also say that maritime initiative will use satellite technology to create a tracking system for illegal fishing from the Indian Ocean to the South Pacific. The Quad group is seen as largely aiming to counter growing Chinese influence in the Indo-Pacific region and comes amid diplomatic tensions after the Solomon Islands last month signed a security pact with China. India's Foreign Secretary Vinay Quatra identified several areas of cooperation and discussions expected at the Quad summit. Now, like climate action, sustainable infrastructure, biotechnology, security of critical cyber infrastructure, COVID response, and the war in Ukraine is an ongoing discussion among the countries, and it is likely to dominate discussions as well. Australia's newly elected Prime Minister Anthony Albanese will join the Quad Leaders Summit for the first time. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that he looked forward to a bilateral meeting with him, where regional and global issues of mutual interest will be discussed. Now, under India and Australia's comprehensive strategic partnership, US President Joe Biden will also launch the long-anticipated Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. It is a proposed pact that aims to set rules for trade and digital standards. It aims to ensure reliable supply chains, worker protections, decarbonization, and tax and anti-corruption issues as well. Now, we want to remind our viewers that WION will be live on ground for the latest updates. Our managing editor, Palki Sharma Upadhyay, and her team are in Tokyo and will be getting you all the latest in real time. So stay tuned. And Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi today will be meeting with Japanese business leaders, and later he will be interacting with the Indian community. We also saw, as we speak, US President Joe Biden and Prime Minister of Japan, Fumio Kishida, are holding bilaterals. US President Joe Biden will be holding separate bilaterals with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi tomorrow. The issue of Ukraine will surface, apart from the issues of countering China's aggression in the Indo-Pacific. And for more significance on the upcoming Quad Summit, which is scheduled to take place tomorrow, Dr. Malcolm Davis, a senior analyst from Australian Strategic Policy, is joining us live from Washington, D.C. Welcome to the broadcast, Doctor.
For having me.
My first question to you is that this is the first in-person Quad meeting since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Now, will the issue of countering China take a center stage despite the Russia-Ukraine conflict?
Look, I think obviously Russia-Ukraine is going to be really important. You can't ignore it. But I think China is going to matter a great deal as well. The Quad, I think, is focused very much on Indo-Pacific security issues. And it's China's rise and China's military modernization and concerns about issues such as Taiwan. And from an Indian perspective, obviously Chinese actions in the Indian Ocean that I think are really important. So although the Quad is not a hard security alliance, it is dealing with security-related issues. And so any discussion would have to consider the rise of China.
Right. My second question to you is that US President Joe Biden today will be launching the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, which is an economic strategy to counter China's aggression in the Indo-Pacific. How significant do you think this initiative is?
I think it's hugely important when you consider China's dominance of markets across the region. I think it's important to have a counterbalancing arrangement with TPP, and now this new Indo-Pacific economic partnership. I think it strengthens our ability to balance our economic relationship between On the one hand, a Western liberal democratic-led order, which is vital to be maintained, versus China's ambitions, which is to challenge that order and impose its own Chinese-led economic order in the region.
Right. Now, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has landed in Tokyo and he will be holding bilaterals with US President Joe Biden. My question to you is that how will the Indian Prime Minister be approached when it comes to the Ukraine conflict? Do you think this is a paramount concern for the United States at the Quad Summit?
Look, I think it will be, because obviously India has refused to condemn Russia for its aggression into Ukraine. That was a concern for the US and also for Australia, as well as Japan. So India is the outlier here. We understand why India has done this, but we felt that India's actions in regards to Russia and Ukraine could have been handled better. So I think there will be some delicate diplomacy occurring between Biden and Modi on Ukraine. We may not get India to change its approach or its stance, but we would like some nuance to make it clear that India recognises that Russia is the aggressor in this conflict and does deserve to be condemned.
Right. My last question to you is that now with the change of guard in Australia, Anthony Albanese will be attending the Quad Summit. How will this change the dynamics of the grouping?
It's not going to change that much. I mean, I think that the new Labor government has a very similar foreign policy stance to the previous Liberal National Coalition. And I wouldn't expect a huge amount of change, particularly on issues like the Quad or AUKUS. So I think that it will be more of the same, more continuity than change. And I think that Albanese will do a very excellent job alongside his Foreign Minister, Penny Wong, in managing relations with our Quad partners.
Well, thank you for getting us up to speed on the upcoming Quad Summit. That was Dr. Malcolm Davis, live from Washington, D.C. Thanks very much.